And Bo Jackson to the 20 and out in front, and only one man to beat, and easily can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo.
Sometimes pro athletes dominate so much in one professional league, they decide to double up and play in another. There have been numerous pros over the years who have played in two professional sports leagues simultaneously, and today we're going to look over a few of the best, both from past and present. Starting us off, arguably one of the best athletes of all time, we got Bo Jackson. At just 18 years old, fresh out of high school, Jackson was drafted to the New York Yankees in the second round of the 1982 MLB draft. He opted to go to Auburn instead, where he would win a Heisman Trophy and eventually get drafted first overall in the 1986 NFL draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, Bo refused to sign with the team, which he made very clear prior to the draft. I'm sorry, but could you imagine refusing to sign with an NFL team? He had a good reason though. It's because Jackson felt he was set up by the Bucs, who told him a visit to their facilities was NCAA approved when in fact it was not. This led to Jackson being ineligible to finish his final year playing baseball at Auburn, which led to him refusing to play football for Tampa. As he explained, I quote, "I think it was all a plot now, just to get me ineligible from baseball because they saw the season I was having and they thought they were going to lose me to baseball. Like if we declare him ineligible, then we've got him." And apparently he's a man of principle, but I mean, dude, an NFL team? Jackson would go on to sign a contract with the Kansas City Royals, who drafted him in the 4th round using the 105th pick in the 1986 amateur draft. In '87, a year after playing for the Royals affiliate team, Bo Jackson would see himself playing for the Royals and would go on to play for the White Sox and Angels, being named AL All-Star and winning the All-Star Game MVP in '89. However, the Bucs would forfeit Jackson's rights prior to the 1987 NFL Draft, which is when the Los Angeles Raiders would draft him 7th round with the 183rd pick. At first, Jackson wasn't interested in playing, but when the team's owner Al Davis pretty much said he could focus on baseball and join the Raiders after the MLB season, he was sold. Bo Jackson would go on to play 4 seasons with the Raiders, with the 1989 being his best year in the NFL, going to the Pro Bowl.
Do you feel that Michael is the best ever?
I think so. I think he's not only the best basketball player, but probably the greatest athlete that's ever played any sport.
Moving on, Michael Jordan. Of course, you know MJ is one of the best to play the game of basketball, playing the majority of his career with the Chicago Bulls, winning 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 regular season MVPs, and setting records. And you probably remember him from Space Jam. It's a classic. However, you may not remember Michael Jordan playing for the Blue Jays. That's because he didn't.
Did you see what I did there?
Following the loss of his father, Jordan said he had no desire to play basketball and would retire, but would go on to sign a minor league baseball contract with the Chicago White Sox. Jordan later said he wanted to pursue his late father's dream of his son playing baseball, and it probably helped that Jerry Reisendorf, who owned the Bulls, also owned the White Sox. Although MJ wouldn't play for the White Sox, he would play for their affiliate team for a season, with a .202 batting average, 3 home runs, 51 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, and 114 strikeouts, before returning to the NBA the following year due to the MLB strike.
Batting 193 with 2 homers and 44 runs batted in.
2 home runs? Make that 3.
However, prior to his return, MJ would play for the Scottsdale Scorpions in the 1994 Arizona Fall League, batting a .252 average. Had there not been a strike, who knows if MJ would have returned to the NBA. Probably, with all due respect, he wasn't that great of a baseball player, so I really think he would have gone back to the NBA, but who knows? Up next, we got Greg Hardy.
Are you on this for sure, Greg? What's up?
Oh yeah, I've signed the contract a couple times. I'm definitely in there. Whenever it happens, I'm in there.
Not the most well known on this list, but Hardy was once a Pro Bowl defensive tackle in the NFL. After being drafted in the 6th round, 175th overall in the 2010 draft by the Carolina Panthers, Hardy would go on to play 4 seasons, setting a team record 15 sacks in one of them, and just 1 game of a 5th season before his domestic violence case would see him suspended by the league. The following year, the Panthers would cut ties with Hardy, and the Dallas Cowboys would sign him to a 1-year contract in March of 2015. Although the media and public criticized both Hardy and the Cowboys for the signing, he would go on to have a good start for the team, but ultimately wouldn't get re-signed as the team just felt he wasn't a good fit. Hardy would go on to appeal his conviction of assaulting his ex-girlfriend, and after the victim failed to appear in court to testify, the charges were expunged. He would then set his sights onto his next professional sport.
A big organization.
Greg Hardy, what are you talking about? He's a co-main event on ESPN.
Well, how'd that go? How'd that work out?
Awful. We watched it together and we were clowning it the whole time.
Joke.
In October 2016, Hardy announced he'd be starting a mixed martial arts career, even though he had no prior fighting experience. On November 4th, 2017, Hardy would make his amateur MMA debut, knocking out Joe Hawkins just 32 seconds into the first round of the fight. Hardy has gone on to have himself quite the MMA career, currently fighting in the UFC after winning himself a contract following his professional debut at Dana White's Contender Series in April of 2018. As of this recording, he has a pro record of 7 wins, 2 losses, and 1 no contest, which includes a disqualification. His only other loss is by decision, so this guy is definitely worth keeping an eye on. And you know what, maybe Rogan and Schwab are wrong.
Always moving.
I guess.
That's an understatement. Now, we've seen you over the years as an NCAA wrestling champ, a World Wrestling Professional champ, an NFL workout, back to Japan for more wrestling, and now mixed martial arts. What in the world are we talking about here?
Speaking of football and the UFC pros, let's talk about Brock Lesnar. After winning the NCAA D1 Heavyweight Wrestling Championship, Lesnar would go on to sign a contract with the WWE in the year 2000. If you were a fan or are a fan of the WWE, then you've likely watched or at least know who Brock Lesnar is. He's a legend in the game. However, after a few years in the WWE, Brock decided to pursue a career in football, which is when he'd get a chance of making the Minnesota Vikings. After they enjoyed his workout, Brock would make it onto the team for the preseason as a defensive tackle. However, just a month after signing with the team, he'd be cut after failing to make it. After spending a few years doing some wrestling overseas, Lesnar would decide to try his hand in MMA. His first professional fight was in 2007, and soon after, he'd get a shot at the UFC.
We took a big risk in bringing Brock in. You know, the guy had one MMA fight. He came in and what he accomplished in a short amount of time is seriously incredible.
Given that Lesnar already had a following and was known for his wrestling abilities, it was a no-brainer to let him join the UFC. However, he would lose his debut going up against former UFC heavyweight champ Frank Mir. Lesnar would remain in the UFC for a handful of years, winning the heavyweight belt from Randy Couture, defeating Frank Mir in their second bout, and giving Shane Carwin his first loss. Health reasons would see Lesnar retire from the UFC, head back to the WWE for a few years, and then fight in the UFC again while simultaneously still being on the WWE's roster.
Becoming the first person ever to hit a major league home run and then score an NFL touchdown in the same week.
Now before we finish off our video, of course we need to mention Dion Sanders. Whether you know him as Primetime or Neon Dion, this guy is one of a kind. Literally, he's the only person to play in both a Super Bowl and World Series. And if that didn't give it away, Sanders was drafted and played in both the NFL and MLB. He was also a bit of a journeyman. Originally drafted fresh out of high school by the Kansas City Royals in the 1985 draft, Sanders opted not to sign with the team. He was a 6th round pick, so, I mean, not ideal, but it's not like losing a first rounder. After attending Florida State University, where he would be an all-star athlete, Primetime would get drafted by the New York Yankees in the 1988 draft in the 30th round. He would go on to play for 5 teams over his 9-year part-time baseball career, but it seems he really shined in the NFL after being drafted 5th overall in the first round in the 1989 draft by the Atlanta Falcons.
I consider myself a Falcon, man. I think everybody knows that knows me. I consider myself a Falcon, and I'm happy for that.
A standout cornerback who also played punt and kick return as well as occasional wideout, Sanders would win 2 Super Bowls, one during the 1994 season with the 49ers, and the other in 95 with the Cowboys. And just to clarify, technically he won with the teams in 95 and 96 respectively, but the season was the 94, 95, and 95 and 96 season. You know what I'm saying? To no surprise, Sanders would play for the MLB teams that shared the city with his NFL team. Although his football career did come first, Sanders still performed well in the MLB, even reaching a World Series with the Atlanta Braves in 1992. They lost to the Toronto Blue Jays. That's right. It's funny enough, I'm wearing red, and I should be. Don't worry about that. Sanders would go on to play baseball until 2001 and football until 2005, although he did retire for a few seasons before making a return. Which makes me wonder, is that another video that you guys want to see? Pros who retired and then returned? Let me know, as I'm open to all types of videos. I've been your host, Jared Bronstein, and we'll see you guys soon. Make sure you guys smash that like button for your boy. Let's go! Just press the like button.